The live stream will be starting in about 3 minutes time. Hello and welcome to BCC Virtual Racing. Tonight's race is the Volcano Circuit hosted by BRT, a distance of 31.5 kilometers consisting of 7 laps at 4.1 kilometers and a short lead-in of 1.3k. About 162 meters of climbing in total, so not a particularly hilly course. And for some reason sorry, just checking, I was actually entered the race. I have. So in starting with category B as usual, where the main competition will be held tonight, with a total of I think 13 riders in Cat B, 4 in Cat A, 6 currently in Cat C, 3 in Cat D, about 24-25 riders in total from BCC. 41 seconds until the start. So winning the race last Monday, Angus Stoneham won in the A's, another well fought battle against Tom, Charles and Lisa, I think it was. In Cat B, Davis just beat Kalik at the finish line by a fraction of a second in the sprint. Kalik should be a little bit embarrassed as Davis is old enough to be his father. In category C, Reed predictably won again in Cat C, should be moving up to Cat B shortly, and in Cat D it was a win by Morton. So 5 seconds, 6 seconds until the start of category B, all riders starting at the same time, and the riders are off. Let's see if we can grab someone from BCC. Who have we got here? Marcus Stoneham, just as the riders get underway. Fairly, as I said, fairly flat and fast course, so would expect the larger riders to, would expect the course to favour some of the larger riders. Lancey, I think, Campbell riding today should suit them well. The little hills that are there are just short bumps, so shouldn't cause too much of a problem for those guys. But then again, stranger things have happened on Zwift racing. So at just 0.3 kilometers we are underway. Rob Danes there. Campbell I've seen as well. All riders starting together. There's Lisa. We'll expect this large group to split up very quickly. You could see there's Gavin Smith from High Wycombe on screen. Davis was a great win from him on Monday in category B for BCC, not the entire event. Just beating, as I said, Kalik at the finish line. It was worth a slow motion replay as well to see that. Oh, just realised I didn't have the video turned on. Apologies. One technical problem after the next, but here we go anyway. So 1 kilometre in, 1 minute 27 seconds. Davis there, Tom. I'm not sure if Stoneham is in the race this evening. Have a quick look further forward in the field and see if I could see him. He often enters quite late. There's Blackham. Blackham sort of faded away on Monday evening. In fact, Blackham I think was 6th overall if I remember. Yes, he was. And in the A's it was, as I say, Stoneham followed by Tom. And I think time-wise, about 1 second between them. There's Kalik leading up front. Seems to have found a bit of form recently. There's Charles, continues to improve. Has tried to hold the front of the field with the A's. Hasn't been successful in the last race or two. Will be interesting to see what he does today. But still getting stronger, in my view at least. Currently in 2nd, 8th position. 239 riders now in total, so a large field. And at 2.2 kilometers, just finished the lead in, now into the first laps of 4.1 kilometers. And as you can see, so far the course pretty flat, although the surface of the road there looks like gravel. It is in fact tarmac, so won't be slowing the riders down. So Charles from BCC seems to be the leading rider at the moment. See if I can find someone. No, in fact Lisa is further ahead by the looks of it. She's currently in 4th place. Performance has been a bit variable recently, but I think she'll do well today. This is the short little hill, if you can call it that, up to the finish line, when riders will come back through this another 7 times. It's just enough to make a little bit of a difference, that final push towards the end. This is a course that has been used many times for both BCC and BRT. So all still together. I'll have a look further back in the field now just to see who's dropping off. Kalik there, Davis together. Civita, 296 watts. And just to have a quick look at the course, there it is. So the only real dip is just under, between sort of 1/2 and 1.5 kilometers. The rest of the course is fairly flat. Campbell with Civita as well. And Kalik's there, moving further back in the field now. Let's see what's happening in the C and D fields. Gavin Smith from Wycombe. Mayhew Smith, so this looks like a second group, but now some 10 seconds behind the leading A combination B group. Mayhew Smith, his performance has been slipping a little bit recently, and he's sort of dropping back further through the field. I'm not sure what's happening with him. Could be turbo variations, a little bit more weight after Christmas, but all these things looks as if they are conspiring against him to slow him down just that little bit. And there is Marcus Stoneham, about 5-6 seconds behind Mayhew Smith. In fact, that is the group just ahead that they can see now. And Taff is with Stoneham. tough. Finished, let's have a look, about a minute behind Blackham on Monday night's race. And there is Chris Reed. Surely a rider that should be moving up to category B. Can't click on him. There he is. 562 watts, quite a formidable power output, but this is a 110 kilo rider, so a big rider. Ultimately, if his fitness continues to improve, should within a few races, or maybe next season, be competing with the likes of Lancia and Campbell, both of whom are around the 90 kilo mark and both over 1.9 meters tall, so comparable in size. And further back in the field now, leaving Reed behind. Nixon, who I think was third on Monday evening. No, he was second, I do apologise. He was the second rider for category C for BCC. Now at 4.8 kilometres, coming up to the start of the second lap. And further back in the field, Albert May, I just saw there. There he is. And there's a surprise. Barr, riding in category B, probably where he should be, but riding with Albert May. A big difference in performance between those two riders. Barr is a canny rider, though. He may have plans, but certainly the plan is not to win. Not at the pace he's going at the moment. Currently holding 2.4 watts per kilo. That's somewhat low for him, I think, but he might just be having a cruise to see what it's all about. But nice to see him there. And there's Tamsin, about a further 15 seconds behind Barr at 5 kilometres. And with Tamsin is Oliver White, whom I think was third on Monday evening's race. No sign of Cullen. There's Peter Jones, a further 20 seconds behind. And just creep backwards in the field. And here is no sign of Cullen on the way back, but here, in fact, there is Cullen. Here is Telford and Jones. They continue to have an ongoing battle between the two of them, with Rob Jones getting the better of the race on Monday evening, finishing ahead of Telford but behind Morton. And there is Cullen just sneaking up behind them in this same group, in fact just moving ahead. Cullen really should be performing a little bit better than this. Perhaps is tired with the amount of racing he has been doing, but nonetheless, there's another rider that continues to improve. And Richard Lay still recovering from, I think, injury and illness, who finished, I think, fourth. Well, was the last rider to cross the line, but looking at the numbers is still getting stronger, so good luck to him in tonight's race. Almost caught the category A riders. There we go. I have indeed. So it looks like Blackham up front now. So Blackham performing well at this stage. He held on well on Monday night, but not for too long. Then about halfway through, I think, if I remember correctly, dropped off and drifted back through the field, took the power off and sort of cruised home for an easier ride. In there still, of course, Danes, Kalik, Davis. Kalik should still be making more of an effort than this, I think. But this is a big bunch. It would take a brave move to try a breakaway at this stage. Not that it's impossible, but Tom and Lisa Charles all in this group. Blackham and Les Lancia, in fact. 340 watts, which is over his FTP. Lancia, another one of the young 30-somethings, along with Kalik. Now at 8 kilometres, so well on their way in the second lap. About a kilometre and a half, I think, to go, something like that, until the start of the third lap. So this is a fast race. It will be over almost before it starts, at least for those of us watching and commentating. Campbell still in there hanging on. It looks as if he's come back to full performance after his slight illness. It will be interesting now to see what happens maybe in the next 2 laps, how this could all change. I think it will. But at the moment, all the main contenders, the A's and B's in this group, looking forwards, and that is the tail end of the group. So while all of those riders are riding together, let's see what's happening a little bit further back. Civitar is now 15 seconds off that very large peloton up front, and a further 14 seconds behind him is Stoneham and Taff and Mayhew Smith. Those 3 riders together. It's not Gavin Smith from High Wycombe, who's raced against BCC many a time. In fact, Chris Reed is in this group as well, so Chris Reed is performing well. Taff and Mayhew Smith I would expect to be further up in the field at this stage, but of course there is no one in front of them. There is nowhere to go, so I don't think they're going to stick their necks out and go for a break and an attack at this stage. Stoneham, though, is capable of it, I think. It's not that long ago that he moved up to the Bs, but is already challenging Mayhew Smith and Taff. Mayhew Smith, previously a Category A rider, but has recategorised himself, or he has been, with recent performances. So these riders now at 8.9 kilometres. And about, let's have a quick look, can't tell the time gap, but next in the field is Nixon, who continues to sneak up in his average watts per kilo. Let's see, last race on Monday averaged 3.1, he's now at 2.6, and I just caught sight of Jury there. Didn't expect to see Jury this far back in the field this early on. Jury, didn't race on Monday. I don't think it was his turn on the Watt bike, but I would expect him to be further up. He has gone through a period of attacking very hard at the start of races, which I think he suffered for. Then has taken a more pragmatic approach and picked his groups carefully. But I think he's picked one a little bit too far back. He really is a faster rider than Nixon, in my view. But easy to say. Albert May now at 9.2 kilometres in a group of about 15 riders. Very consistent performer, and likes to analyse all the data, so he knows exactly what he's doing and what he can do. And behind May, next up is just Tamsin going past at 9.2 kilometres. In fact, that is May ahead in that small group of 15 riders or so. .14 into the race. There's Cullen now at 8.7. In fact, I just missed Peter Jones. Looks as if Peter Jones is by himself. That he won't be keen on. Does often end up by himself, I've noticed, but nonetheless I know, just at least from watching him race, he does prefer and perform better when there's a bit of competition around. But about 5-6 seconds behind him is Cullen, Telford, Jones, and perhaps Peter Jones has made the decision already to work his way backwards and join this larger group of riders, most of whom I think he can outride. So that could be a good tactical move for him. Cullen, not sure what he's up to. Again, as I've said, continues to improve, but really is faster, I think, than Rob Jones and Telford, who are just behind him. And on this flat course, difficult to say out of Jones and Telford. I think I'll put my money on Jones again, although I have seen Telford win on this course against Jones just on that final little climb up to the finish line, so it could happen. And Lay bringing up the rear at this stage. It's a difficult place to be in when you're towards the rear of the field, but he keeps going. It's a very admirable performance. And back up now to the front of the field in third place. Let's see if we can find the first BCC rider. Looks like Charles and Lancia are the front runners at the moment. Lancia, Charles is in there. I'm sure Davis, Kalik, Danes, all there as well. Let's have a quick look behind, see who we could see. I'm sure they're all in there. We'll check on that in a moment. But Lancia seems to be on form today at 12.7 kilometers in on lap 3. We'll be starting lap 4 shortly. And I think, just as a reminder, 31.5 kilometers into the race, so roughly a third of the way there. And here are some of the other riders. Kalik, contract renewed with his team, I think, after his improved performance, but it came close to termination, I think. I'm sure there's a performance clause in his contract, so hopefully he can hang on in there. But as I've said before, he and Lancia, at their age, really should be pushing a bit harder. Certainly faster than Davis they should be. Campbell in with this group as well. In fact, is that Campbell showing signs of weakening? It might be. It looks like it. This is a bit of a surprise actually at this stage. I wouldn't expect Campbell to be dropping off this field just quite yet. Normally does very well against Lancia and Davis as well. Maybe not back to full form. That's Campbell on the right, I think, in the black kit. But at the moment, 3-4 seconds he's lost. In fact, that is the group ahead pulling away from him. Just remind myself who is in that. Lancia, Davis, Danes, Charles. So Charles not keeping with the front of the race. Looks as if it's beginning to break up now at roughly halfway through, just under halfway through. Campbell is now drifting back quite quickly. He's making an attempt to get back on though. That was 500 watts he was pushing. That's quite impressive. And Lisa looks as if she's gone as well. Yes, she's dropped off from both the leading A group. The fast Bs is behind Campbell by about 30 seconds. I don't think that will bother her too much, the position she's in. She's got a small group of riders there and is riding well. Don't forget, this is a rider that is close to, I think, around 51 kilos, so not a course that is likely to suit her. And of course she's up against some very big male riders. And behind Lisa Civita looks to be, they could well be in the same room racing, looks to be about 30 seconds further behind Lisa. You may not be able to see her yet on his leaderboard. It does scroll back and forward fairly quickly. It's quite difficult to track. And Stoneham, Mayhew, Smith, Taff all still together in this group. They have drifted a little bit further back. And they are now at 14.3 kilometers and 19 minutes 24 seconds into the race. I think these riders could well stay together. My money at the moment is on Stoneham if it comes down to a final sprint. I don't think Mayhew Smith's quite got that. Taff has got a good sprint in him as well. But Reed is still in there. It's a great performance from him. If he keeps this up, it's definitely category B next time, I'm afraid to say. But that is good news in a way. But of course the big challenge for all riders is move up a category. Tend to move up because you're at the top of a category and then you end up at the bottom of the category, which can be difficult psychologically to handle. And Jury, he's even further back. Doesn't seem to be riding well today. Be interesting to get his views at the end if I could, but some 25 seconds behind Taft, Mayhew, Smith and Stoneham at 15k. And going further back, 15 seconds behind him is Nixon. We'll be chasing Reed in the Seas, but it was on Monday night, as a reminder. It was Reed that was first, Nixon second, and there was about a 45-second gap between them. That looks as if it's going to be replicated at this stage, but Nixon has the problem now that he is all by himself. I don't think he wants to ride with any of the riders behind him, but he's got to make a choice, because if he stays isolated like this, he's going to suffer, I have no doubt. So maybe one more push, he might catch up with Jury. It's a possibility. It would be a great performance from him, but he has some fast category D riders coming up behind him. May still consistent around 240, 230 watts, 14.8 kilometers. Oliver White has drifted further back in the field. I did think this was a rider that was just about ready to move up to category B, but maybe he's deliberately holding himself in Cat C. That does sometimes happen. Wouldn't like to mention any names, but... And with him though is Tamsin, always a consistent performer. Don't think Littlewood's racing tonight. He often races at the same sort of speed and pace as Tamsin. I haven't seen him on the start list. No, maybe he is actually, but I haven't seen him in the rider list, so I may have scrolled past him a couple of times. And let's have a look at there is Cullen. So what is happening with Cullen now? Down to a group of 3. No sign of Barr, was riding with him. Rob Jones is in this same group, I think. No, 2 seconds behind, so that is in fact Cullen just up in front. Move back to the front view. And Peter Jones, so both the Joneses and Telford all together. And moving back to the front of the field, Tom still leading category A at this stage. Looks like a good performance, doesn't look as if Stoneham's riding tonight, so it's Tom's opportunity to win one more race in the series against Stoneham. And Tom is the leading BCC rider. And what is the gap? So, aha, this is interesting. So Kalik, looks as if Kalik may have made an attack. He's about 15 seconds behind Tom, but it looks as if the attack hasn't worked. In fact, here is Davis sneaking up behind him. So maybe both of those riders went for an attack. They pulled some 10-15 seconds ahead of the rest of the Bs by the looks of it. Davis is certainly, I would expect him to push hard and catch up with Kalik. He won against him on Monday but doesn't seem to be making that effort to do so. 180 watts, 190 watts. Kalik's at 2.3 watts per kilo. So this is well beyond the capacity of these riders. He may well be waiting for Davis. Maybe Davis doesn't want to catch him. But as I said earlier, Davis is old enough to be Kalik's father. So great performance from Davis. Very tactical, well played out. But Kalik, I'm not so sure I could say I was beaten by someone as old as my dad. That, a little bit embarrassing, but there you go. And behind these two, I thought I saw Charles 5 seconds further back. In fact, there is the view that Charles has now. So it looks as if Kalik and Davis made an attack. Kalik managed to pull away from Davis, couldn't hold it. And now the chasing group, this chasing group containing Charles, is closing down rapidly and will catch. Looks as if Davis is just about to catch Kalik. And the group is now... Have they caught? 2 seconds away, but they will catch. Lancey is in this group as well. He was riding very well earlier, but looks as if he dropped off. Couldn't hold on. It's just this little bump as it comes up to the finish line at 19.2 kilometers. Riders now entering the 5th lap of this race. So 2 laps to go. Or 2.5, 3 maybe. but around that 31 kilometers, 19.4 they're at now. So there is Lance here, 221 watts, 170 on the heartbeat, so it's fairly high heartbeat. And have they all come back together? Let's just check before I go. Yeah, so Davis, Kalik, Charles, all back together. Lance here as well. So it looks as if it was a brave attack. And Blackham, another surprise again. It happened on Monday night and was unexpected, and the same applies to Campbell. So Blackham and Campbell are together and 28 seconds further behind. Let's have a look. No, 15 seconds. Let's have a check and get this right. 15, 16. Davis at 20.1. 20, yes, 24, but 24, 25 seconds. Blackham and Campbell behind Davis and Co. So this does not seem to be favouring these two well, this course. If it comes down to a finish between these two. Oh, Lance here's got a very powerful sprint, but Blackham can sprint from a little bit further out and is very good on the short, sharp climbs. But neither rider overstretching themselves at the moment. Blackham 205 watts, Campbell 225 at the moment, both around 2.5 watts per kilo. So they are riding relatively, in inverted commas, comfortably for them, but they're not pushing at full effort. But rest assured, they are still working hard. Lisa now at 20.1 kilometers, and about maybe 25 seconds further back as a rough guess. And Civita is a further 12 seconds behind Lisa at 20.1 kilometers. Another rider that whose performance sort of varies up and down. Much depends, I think, on what he's planning for the race. Whether he's just taking it as a training ride or is all out to race. Stoneham though. Stoneham, Taft, Mayhew, Smith all still together at 20.4 kilometers. I think these three will stay together now until the end. It would be a brave move from this stage for an attack, but not impossible. But it would take a concerted effort of probably a couple of minutes, which is pretty hard to do. Notice Stoneham doesn't have a heartbeat running, so I'm sure he's still alive, of course. But coming to the results, Chris Reed is still in there as well. So Reed is performing very well. 3.1 watts per kilo, 3.3, 3.6. We're very interested to see what his final results are. I say right on the cusp of moving up to B. And Fata, of course, is riding with B riders now, Stoneham, Mayhew, Smith and Taft. So just to sort of demonstrate, in fact, he moves into the front. And behind Taft, Mayhew, Smith and Reed, we have, let's see who's next. Albert May at 19.9 kilometers. Oliver White, I just saw there. Oliver White and Tamsin still together at 19.9. Haven't seen Barr in a while. Maybe he's stopped racing. I'm not sure. No sign of Cullen either. Could be I've just missed him. I'll have another quick look before moving back to the A's. There's White, Tamsin in this group, May, Nixon. Still currently scheduled for, scheduled is probably not the right word, but still currently riding for second position for BCC. no sign of... There's Jury actually. So Jury's some 20 seconds ahead of Nixon at the moment at 22.2 kilometers, 30 minutes into the race. I've lost Cullen and also lost Barr. Doesn't mean they aren't there, but just sometimes a little bit tricky to track on screen. Okay, 31 minutes into the race, and we're now in the final sections of this race. About 10 kilometers left to go. There's Matt Tom, currently in third position overall, second overall, 238 riders in the field, riding very well, buoyed by the fact that he doesn't have to race Stoneham, I am sure. Riding at 4.7, 4.4 watts per kilo. Last race he averaged 4.5, so he's pushing hard at 173 beats per minute on the heart. The average maximum for him in the last race 166, I think that is, but a maximum heart rate of 193, which is fairly significant. Went up to 9 watts per kilo there. Just a kick on these small hills, as you've seen already, nothing particularly big, but it's these small hills that can make all the difference for the riders. If they've got enough energy, are able to kick and push just for 30 seconds over the top, it can split the field up. But nice to see Danes is hanging on there as well. There he is. I think on Monday night was, if I remember correctly, was that the race where he drifted off the back of the field? I'm not sure. But anyway, riding well. Got he has obviously Tom in his sights. And these riders now at 25.7 kilometers. Just coming up for lap 6, I think. And the next riders BCC wise behind Tom and Danes. If I can find someone, it's at least 30 seconds further back. Looks like Charles, about 30 seconds. Yes, so this group of A's and B's. So Charles in this group. This is the group that came together about 5 minutes ago with Davis still there, Kalik still there. In fact, there's Cullen. Let me just have a quick look at Cullen. Looks as if he's just being lapped or is about to be lapped, I would imagine. But in this group, Lancia, Charles, Davis, Kalik. At 25.3 kilometers, so in fact, yes, they have just passed Cullen. Another quick look at him before he disappears off screen. And this group with Kalik, Davis and Co. At 33 minutes, 25 kilometers into the race, about 15 seconds at the moment behind Tom. No, let's make that 25 seconds behind Tom and Danes. Now this could be the interesting race towards the end. A few good riders here. Charles, Davis, Kalik and Lancia. I'll have to think about that one in the next lap. See who we can follow across the finish line. Cullen riding well though, 21.4 kilometers. And in the D's, let's have a look. So it's still Telford, Jones and Jones. Sounds like a law firm, but Telford, Jones and Jones. There's Campbell and Blackham still together. They have, or they're just about to lap Jones and Telford. They are now about a minute behind the Davis and Co group. I would expect these two riders to stay together until the end. Although Blackham, even though he may not be up the front, doesn't give up. We'll come back to them shortly. Gavin Smith from High Wycombe at 25.9. So we have at 25.3 the Taff. Is Mayhew Smith still here? Yes, he is. Mayhew Smith is here as well. And Reed together. There was one other rider, but I've forgotten who it was. 35 minutes into the race. They'll be suffering now, the riders. Heat from the volcano, I'm sure, makes a difference. Let's move back now to the front of the race. Nixon at 24.9, just on the way to the front. So Danes currently up front. Danes and Tom vying for the front position. Now the riders will want to be right on the front at this stage at 28.7 kilometers. We've got about 2k left to go. So I will stay with these riders now until the finish, and if I can juggle everything. On the keyboard, at the moment I think I will stay with Tom. Just a quick check behind. I need to make certain I can line up the next group. Tom pushing strongly on that slight hill there. Danes will do just the same. There's nothing he likes more than attacking on a small hill. .8 kilometers the finish. I think that is it on the just gone out of view on the moving map. Hard to tell how far it is. I think about just over a kilometre as a guess, but as we near the finishing stages of this race with Danes and Tom, it looks as if they're about to lap some other BCC riders quite close to the finish. 360 watts heartbeat, 186 from Tom. And it looks as if it's going to be a crowded finish, as timing wise there may well be other riders on the course just at that point. The course is flat at this stage. I'm just looking for the finish line on screen. I can't quite see it yet. The distances never quite add up in the route descriptions and the Zwift Insider, so hence the reason for the slight confusion. But I'd like to capture these riders crossing the finish line, then I know exactly how long it is. I think it's just about 2 or 3 bends left, and that is it, but I may be wrong, but I'll stay with Tom. Danes, is he in this field? I'm sure he is. Let's just see where he is. There he is. I'll sit with Danes for a moment or two. Tom is about 4 or 5 riders further ahead, but the group is rotating around fairly quickly, so nothing to be worried about at this stage. At 31.4 kilometers. In fact, here we come up to the finish now. This very slight incline kicks up just at this stage, 6%. Riders are going for it. Danes is going for it. 11.5 watts per kilo. Tom is pulled ahead though. Looks as if it's going to be Tom that takes the win for the category A riders. And there it is, Tom first, Danes crosses the line. And let's now see if we can quickly get back to the next riders on on course. This is the tricky bit, trying to get there before it all finishes. This could be it. Blackham, no, not far enough forward yet. Lancia, here we go. Lancia, Davis, Charles, Kalik. Who do we fancy for this one? Haha. This is a difficult one to call. Davis beat Kalik on Monday evening, and just looking at the times, let's see. Yes, so Davis was, even though Charles was third in the A's, Davis and Kalik were faster. In fact, Davis, Kalik and Lancia and Campbell were all faster than Charles, so they beat category A riders. So let's go with Davis, I think. If I can click on him, there he is. .1 kilometers, 41 minutes into the race as they enter the final few hundred meters. Round to the right, left hand bend, slight incline, that little kick right at the end. And here they go. Let's see who's going to push it. Kalik goes first by the looks of it. Kalik's in the lead. Lancier's out front. Davis hasn't responded. Davis is pushing now. It's a late push from Davis. Charles has gone up to 10 watts per kilo. Is Charles going to get past Davis? I'm not sure if he is. Looks as if it's Kalik. Lancier's put in a big push. Charles is just about to catch up with Davis. It looks as if Davis and Charles is going to cross the finish line first, followed by, I'm not quite sure. Let's have a quick look at that. There's the replay. Looks like Davis, bit of the screen chopped off there, but Davis, Lancia and Kalik. Charles, I can't quite see, and crossing the finish line. So let's see who is next on course. Should be Blackham, as a guess. Blackham and Campbell, and it's Blackham going for it now up to the finish line, pulling ahead of Campbell. Campbell's not really responding. Blackham at 7 watts per kilo, Campbell at 7.2. No, Campbell is drifting off. It looks as if Blackham has this to himself. And there is Campbell, just crossed the finish line as well. So that was a win for Blackham against Campbell. And Lisa looks as if she's just come across the line. Civita has followed right behind. Who's left back on course now? There's the Taff, Mayhew, Smith, Reed. At 30, yes, we'll follow these riders as they're close to finish. There may be someone up ahead, but I'm not going to get there in time. So we've got to decide now. Stoneham, Taff, Mayhew, Smith. I think Stoneham could be in for a win here out of these three riders. You can see the finish line now. Reed has gone for it. In fact, it's Reed pulling away, 10 watts per kilo. Stoneham's not responded. Looks as if it's going to be Reed followed by Stoneham. I think, yes, Reed followed by Stoneham. Then Taff. Mayhew, Smith, not quite sure. Yes, in that order, I think. Who do we have left on course now? Just a few riders left. But we'll try and capture, get some screen time for those that are left. There's White. White and Nixon. There's Nixon, 30.2 kilometers by himself still. Oh, a huge group catching up right behind him, which includes White. So White will be looking to overtake Nixon. Nixon will have struggled if he's been by himself for a long time, but Nixon does a push right now though. A bit early for a push, but doesn't want to drift through the back of this field and off and out the back. If he could sit there comfortably for the next minute or so, he may well have enough left for a bit of a kick towards the finish. So we've got this right hand bend coming up and about 1 kilometre to the finish now. 46 minutes, 30.7 kilometres into this race. The final stages for this mixed group of C and B riders. So Nixon holding 170, 200 watts roughly, averaging around 200. White a little bit higher. So I think I've got to pick someone. I'm going to pick Nixon at this stage. I'm supporting the older rider. And here they come up to the finish now. Up this little kick, reaches 6%. Pushing hard, 6.6 watts per kilo for Nixon. White at 6.1 as well. I'm not sure who's going to get there first. Let's have a look. Nixon ahead. White's in the lead, sorry. Come on, push, 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 push. Looks as if it's going to be White. It is going to be White, and White crosses the finish line first, followed by Nixon. And May coming up at 31.2 kilometers. He's now pushing 3.6, 3.7 watts per kilo, 4 watts per kilo. This is his sprint for the finish. And 11 seconds behind him is Tamsin. Come on, Albert, don't stop now. Keep going, keep going, keep going. 2.6 watts. He's not pushing. He's just going to roll across the line by the looks of it. But Tamsin's put in a big kick behind at her. Just reached 5 watts per kilo there, I saw. Have a quick look at her. Here she comes, and there's now relaxed. No one to beat in front or behind. That is May just crossing the finish line ahead of her now. And we'll let Tamsin cross the finish line, see who is next on course. I think it could be the battle in category D. But, Cullen's in there somewhere. In fact, there he is. There is Cullen at 29.8, 48 seconds ahead of Telford. And Peter Jones, can't see any sign of Rob Jones just yet. So no sign of Barr, seems to have disappeared from the racing as far as I can tell. He was riding with Cullen earlier on. 30.1 kilometers. Let's see how Cullen handles the final push. Just looking behind, actually, it looks as if the Joneses, those the Jones and Telford, are all together, a minute behind Cullen. So Cullen's done well to pull away from that group. He was with them for quite a long time earlier on. Now at 30.3. We'll stay with Cullen till the finish, and then we shall finish off tonight's live stream with the Jones and Telford race. And this is the race that, or this is the course that I've seen Telford beat Jones on, just on that last little 6% climb. Jones will be aware of that, of course. He'll be keen to hold off Telford, but of course Telford also knows he's got probably a little bit of a stronger kick than Jones on that final climb. But I wouldn't underestimate Jones in any way whatsoever. So here we have Cullen at 30.8 kilometers, 49 minutes into the race, as he rounds this long sweeping right hand bend, and then the final 6% little kicker up to the finish next to the volcano, and his race will be over. Will Cullen give it a kick against these other riders, though? It'd be nice if he could. And here it is. Here comes the little kicker. This little short, steep ramp. Just when you don't want it and just when you least expect it. 5.8 watts per kilo from Cullen then, so he is pushing. That's nice to see. No one to race against from BCC, but he's letting up a little bit now, but has made that kick to get past that other rider that was right next to him. The other two pulling away 8 watts per kilo. Gavin responds, Cullen responds once again, and he's just about to cross the finish line, and we'll move back now to the final battle of the evening. Jones and Telford. Anybody's guess here really. Peter Jones, I think, if I had to put my money on someone, but these riders I think are going to continue to swap back and forward right until the end. Let's see what happens. 31.1 kilometers, this long sweeping right hand bend, kicks left, and then the finish line will shortly come into view. It looks as if Peter Jones is just pulling away slightly, oh no, it was short-lived. Telford is responding on the little hill again. It looks as if it's a repeat of a previous race. Rob Jones is getting dropped by Peter Jones and Telford. It's going to be Telford. Looks like it will. Does Rob Jones have anything left to respond? He is responding slightly, but no, I think on this occasion it's going to be Telford followed by Peter Jones and then Rob Jones. So yet again Telford beats Rob Jones on that final little 6% climb of this race. So that is, I think, the end for this evening's live stream. Thank you all for watching. Next race is, it's not Monday evening. There is the handicap race on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. See you all then. Thank you for watching.